We're live. A very weird thing to wake up to. News of, the best player, one of the best players in fantasy basketball being out for the season. A suspension to Bobby Portis. We're still going to answer other questions as well, because Michael Bolton's here. Mick?
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
You are Locked On Fantasy, your daily NBA fantasy podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd, and starting tomorrow I've got a new job. I am Bobby Portis' personal assistant. I'm also the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com, and you can find me on Blue Sky, joshloyd.bsky.social, on Twitter at redrock_bball, on TikTok at redrock_bball, and on Instagram at Locked On Fantasy Basketball. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Also, check out LockedOnDaily.com and get the best NBA newsletter for your favorite team, free in your inbox. Check out that and double bang this. And if you are live, hello to everybody. We're back post All-Star. I hope everything is actually going okay with the show, and because again, I had these issues with the computer and all my settings and stuff were gone, and I think we're good. If not, I'm sure you'll tell me, but I think we're okay. And of course, you wake up and you're getting text messages and you're getting tweets. People bombarding you. What is going on? What on earth is happening? And there's two obviously gigantic pieces of news that dropped in the NBA world over the last 4 hours, whatever it's been. And we'll address both of them. I think I'll start with the Bobby Portis one, because I just want more people to get in here so I don't have to repeat myself a million times about Victor Wembanyama. We'll start with Bobby Portis. And yes, this is an open mailbag, by the way. It's not just going to be on these two topics, but that's where we're going to start, obviously. Bobby Portis suspended 25 games for taking a banned substance, not a PED. In the traditional sense, not growth hormone, not steroids, not anything like that. Not a illegal drug, nothing like that. He got busted 25 games for taking tramadol. Now, if you don't know what tramadol is, I do, right? And that's part of where this crossover in my job and my previous job works pretty well. Tramadol is a painkiller. It is an opiate-based painkiller, a newer opiate-based painkiller. I know you'll think opiate and you go, oh my God, that's terrible. It's fentanyl, it's OxyContin, it's morphine, it's codeine. No, it's none of those things. It's tramadol. It's a very different sort of opiate. It is based on opiate drugs, but it's got some other characteristics of other type of medication as well. It is not a restricted medication, at least not here in Australia. I mean, it is a prescription-only medication, but it's not one that needs to be locked in safes like things like OxyContin. It's not one of those medications. And the fact that it is on the ban list is crazy to me. I don't understand it. It makes no sense to me whatsoever. You know what? Yeah, it can cause some drowsiness. I've taken tramadol before, plenty of times. It's not that uncommon. Can it cause addiction and dependence? Yeah, a little bit, but not really. Yes, but compared to other things, no, not at all. I don't understand why this would garner a single negative failed test will get you 25 games. When Miles Bridges got a 10-game suspension, it was actually 30, but he served it the year before. Yeah, all right, no worries. Kevin Porter Jr. got exactly 0 games suspended. I don't get it, and I am not a Bobby Portis supporter, you know this. The idea that, what happened was his assistant gave him medications and the name Toradol and Tramadol looked the same, which of course they do, and then he took Tramadol is, completely plausible. Also, the idea that Toradol is this safe thing. Toradol is that drug that is used in so many different sports, and it's considered actually quite bad, not because of necessarily the impacts that it has, but because of the way that it works to mask injuries leading to further damage to the body. If you use it to play through, it causes real problems. And I just don't understand the idea that this would result in 25-game suspension for Portis. It doesn't make any sense to me why tramadol would allow that or would cause that. No, none at all. I cannot understand it for the life of me. There's no reason that should be banned. It makes no sense. It's a painkiller. It's a performance decreaser, if anything. Because, yes, it will reduce your pain, but it can make you a little bit drowsy and you're slightly off on your reaction. Slightly off. But you're not talking about him driving here. You're talking about him playing a game, trying to recover from an injury. I don't get it. Anyway, what happens there? Of course, you drop Bobby Portis. Does it help someone like Kyle Kuzma? No, I don't think really, to be honest. And the reason why is that, again, it will give him some more shots, but Kuzma was going to get his minutes, right? It wasn't that Portis and Kuzma were going to split minutes. It means more shots for Kuzma when he plays second unit, but it means probably more something for those of you in deeper leagues, amazingly, like Jericho Sims, who's their backup center now, because that is it. They don't have anyone else. Has to be Jericho Sims. So for deeper leagues, Jericho Sims gets that boost, Kuzma gets it. Otherwise, it's guys like Pat Connaughton for very deep leagues. But overall, that doesn't really mean that much. What we can do now, though, is we can talk about the Victor Wembanyama situation. First question we get here, I don't know why that came up. Apologies. That's me just making sure my thing is working, which it's not. Ash says, I can't believe that he said to pick Wemby as the number 1 pick. Ash, you're quickly becoming the new Ricardo, for those of you who don't know. You can't believe I want to get this out of the way right now. Did I say that Victor Wembanyama was the number 1 ranked player? Yeah, like I said, that it would make sense that he could be number 1, right? What I said is if I had 5 number 1 overall picks, I'd take Wemby 3 times, and I'd take Jokic twice, and I don't think there's a wrong answer there. And I want everyone to be very, very clear on this. Very clear on this. If you selected Victor Wembanyama at number 1, if you got him at number 2, if you selected him in an auction draft, you made the correct choice. It does not matter that Victor Wembanyama, if you haven't heard, has a deep vein thrombosis issue in his shoulder, and it will be the end of the season for him. I don't believe there's any threat to his life. I don't believe there's any threat to his career. Everything seems like he should be ready to go by the beginning of next season, but this is a long period of time that's going to be off. Think about Asar Thompson had it. His was the lungs. That's worse than the shoulder. But maybe he misses the beginning of next season, but I don't think it's a long-term thing. But again, the idea you have to have in fantasy basketball and playing anything, really in any sort of life decision, if you selected Victor Wembanyama, you did not make the wrong decision, because you know why? You did not have this piece of information with you. You did not look at this and go, well, you know what? He's going to get a blood clot. It's going to end his season in February. I'll still take him. You did not have that piece of information. This blood clot could have happened to Nikola Jokic. We're thankful that it didn't, but it didn't, but it could have. If you base your decision making purely off results like this one, you're going to make terrible decisions. You have to believe in the process of what you do. It does not matter. It does not matter in terms of how, because we always want to do is make our moves and think about how we do things moving forward. It does not matter whether you took Wemby at 1 and he's out for the season now, because you didn't have that information. You had nothing that would lead you to that information. There is no, you didn't make the great call by passing on him for Jokic. You did not do that. Just because it works out that way, it does not mean that you made the call with an educated point of view to pass on Wemby, because you didn't. Right? So process has to be at the forefront over results. This is not you could not predict this in a million years. And if you say that you could, you're deluding yourself. Very, very straightforward. Very straightforward. What we can talk about is we can get in now and talk about what actually happens here. And I think that the problem here with talking about how this situation goes in terms of replacements is one that I'm going to come back in a second and talk about as we think about it, because it is a tough one. Today's episode, though, is brought to you by DoorDash. DoorDash, get ready, because they've got an unbelievable catchphrase. They swoosh and you save. But that's beside the point, because thanks to Dash Pass, every time that a player drops 50 or more points in a game, you get a huge deal the next day. When a player scores 50 or more in a game during the 24-25 NBA regular season, Dash Pass members will get 50% off an order, up to $10 off the next day from noon to midnight. So you're watching, you're seeing your favorite player, maybe it's Sandro Mamukelashvili that drops a 50 burger in the next one for the Spurs. Well, the next day, that means you can get up to $10 off with 50% off an order from DoorDash and Dash Pass members. Sign up for Dash Pass and be ready to save. When each player scores 50 or more in a game, Dash Pass members get 50% off an order the next day, up to $10 off. Just use the promo code NBA50 from noon to midnight after a 50-point game on eligible orders of participating merchants. Must have an active Dash Pass account. Terms apply. Visit DoorDash to learn more. All right. So let's go through this. All right. We're talking about the return of or what happens now with Wemby out. Their current roster situation for centers is Sandro Mamukelashvili. That's the end of the list. For two reasons. Bismack Biyombo was on a 10-day. That 10-day has expired. I don't know that they've re-signed him to a second 10-day. They might, but he's not currently. Their other center is Goldfinger Charlie Bassey, who's dealing with a sprained MCL. And we don't actually have a real timeline on that. Now, if Charles Bassey was healthy, yes, he would be an immediate add everywhere. If you've got the ability to add Bassey and put him in your IL slot, I get it. That makes a lot of sense. But we also just don't know, right? We just don't know. All right. So Christian says, yeah, Bassey is not playing, so go for where? I guess that's answering someone else's question, right? About that. When you go through this and think about the situation, is that at the moment, it's going to have to be Mamukelashvili. I think they will play a lot of small ball with Jeremy Sohan, but I don't think they will start that way. But what this also does, I believe, for the Spurs is it just changed. We talked about this on the post-All-Star tanking risk thing, saying I don't think the Spurs would tank. Well, they're not going to have any choice, honestly, because they're not going to tank. They're just going to lose. And we already had an idea that maybe there'd be some changes in their rotations post-All-Star. So if Castle is available, this means he is just going to maintain that high usage. He is going to play more. If Sohan is available, I'd be interested in adding him. But again, this does not mean that he starts. He might start, but he also might just play 24 minutes. The guy who goes into a huge role right now is Sandro Mamukelashvili. And that would be the guy that if I wanted results now, I would add Mamukelashvili, I would add Castle, and I would add Sohan. But I would probably do it. Castle probably over Mamu because I think there's more value in him. But again, he has some limitations in no rebounds, no assists, bad field goals, subpar free throws, low volume threes. Like he's got a lot of issues, Castle. Mamu can put up, honestly, he could have a top 70 run. And then it could all get upended if Bassey returns. But I'll also say this, there's no guarantee Charles Bassey returns. Or they could bring in Biyombo back in. But I do think that Mamu is the add here. That would be my guess. That would be how I would go for it. The problem is we just don't know. I think he's going to be out for like a couple of weeks here at least, right? For Bassey. And that means you do go with Mamu in this spot. Again, it will help Castle. It will help Sohan. It will probably give a couple of extra minutes to Keldon Johnson or maybe even, I don't know, the pencil, Harrison Barnes. Barnesy. That could happen, but it also might not. But I wouldn't bother with, like, yeah, you can make easy arguments like Galahad's here, yeah, Keldon Johnson or Bubbles Champagne. Look, maybe, but not enough to matter. I don't see any path for both of those guys. They need to start and play 28 minutes, and I don't think either of those things happen. Any of those things happen, right? But again, we'll go back into talking about more of this stuff because this is going to evolve a lot. Because as soon as Bassey is available, and I don't think it happens in February. I think we're talking middle of March, and I think for most of us, honestly, it won't impact fantasy playoffs for Charles Bassey. I think Mamu is the grab because he is the center there. We'll see what they do with Biyombo. I think Mamu has to be the grab. Then you look at Castle, and then you look at Sohan as well. But I don't think this means 33 minutes for Sohan off the bat. I don't think that's going to happen, right? Dylan, someone in the chat can educate you on why Harrison Barnes is the pencil. You can do that. McNugget says, I'm guessing Moussa Diabate is a drop moving off the Wemby stuff. That's a really good question because yesterday we got the word from Charles Lee before the game saying that Mark Williams is the starter and Yusuf Nurkic is the backup. I had people, I can't remember if I said this in the waiver wire, multiple people, and I heard it from different angles, different places saying, man, yeah, really looking forward. They're probably going to play Diabate over Williams. It's probably going to be a timeshare there. I had someone saying, man, I can't believe it. Williams is ready for us for the rest of the season. I don't think people understand how good Mark Williams has been this season. Or that Moussa Diabate is an incredibly limited, low upside, filler plug player. He's not that good. He is okay. He's okay, but he's not that good. Right? So the thing I'll say here about Diabate is he a drop? Like, obviously, yes, but also no. And let me expand on that. Because today is a back-to-back for the Hornets. They got 5 games in 7 nights. I will be incredibly shocked if Mark Williams is playing today. So you know what that means? It means that Diabate is going to play. Does it mean that he starts over Nurkic? Not sure. But if we see Diabate play today, you can use him. If he comes off the bench and plays 19 minutes, contrary to all of the reports from inside sources that Diabate is now the team's starting center, which of course is not true. If we see him playing 20 minutes tonight, backing up Nurkic today, then it's an easy drop. But you do not have to drop Diabate now. Dropping Diabate today does not eliminate the 0 you got yesterday. What it does eliminate is a chance that he starts and plays 27 minutes today. But he might not. But just wait like 5 hours. Just wait on it 5 hours. Because you might actually get something today out of it. Now, if you had to make the decision to drop Diabate to add Mamukelashvili or to try Sohan, then okay, that's a problem. That's no problem. You sacrifice the short term to do that. No problem with that at all. But if you're just dropping because, you got a 0, you got to drop, because I'll stream someone today, don't do that. That's a non-winning move. You want to hold to see what happens today, and then you move on. But if it's for a longer-term decision, then sure, absolutely. Is Chris Paul a drop? I wouldn't be making any decisions like that on Spurs players today after this news. I would wait. I would want to find out what actually is going on. Joel Cuthbert says, is Carlo Makovic's role improved with the Javonte Green being bought out? Yes, it is, because we saw last game with Zion Williamson out, Makovic had started in place of Zion, but it wasn't him that started last game, it was Javonte Green. And now, Javonte Green is not there. Now, Makovic's role was increased anyway because Misi is out, and I don't know for how long. Yes, Carlo Makovic should be on rosters. But now it helps that if Misi comes back, there's someone who was getting those 20 minutes a night coming off the bench that Makovic can get. It is also worth remembering, Javonte Green's one of those interesting players where a lot of fantasy sites will label him as a shooting guard, but he's DeMar DeRozan's. He doesn't play at shooting guard ever. He plays as a power forward and as a small forward. So yeah, like there's, I guess, some small Jordan Hawkins trickle downs and BJ, you know what it's like when you get a little bit of a BJ trickle down. You get a little bit of that. But Javonte opens it up more for Makovic. And this also happens when you've got players that play the 2, the 3, and the 4. They can all sort of become interchangeable. Jordan Hawkins is a bad permanent fantasy player. BJ is a slightly better one, but he can have bad efficiency. Makovic is still the guy that I want there. And now with Misi out and Green waived, it opens up a lot more for him, and he is a very clear guy to hold at this stage. What about Vassell's role? He will just play more minutes. No, actually, let me rephrase. He will take more shots. It's fine. It's fine. Webby was never the first pick with Yoke in the league. No one gives a shit. It doesn't matter. He was never... there were stretches this season where Victor Wembanyama was the number 1 player in fantasy. So these sort of comments are actually crazy. And if you picked Wembanyama at 1 over Jokic, you did not make a mistake. Simple as that. Simple as that. Should you drop quickly for Sohan? I would not drop quickly for Sohan. I would not. I think you've got to have someone worse, to be honest. Yeah. Is Dante DiVincenzo a must-grab right now for 12 teams? Did something happen? Is there news, an update, anything like that on his production? On his return? Let me have a look. Nope, there is nothing. So, it would depend a lot on, as all of these things do, Migo, when you're playoff starting, where are you in the standings? Do you have the ability to hold on to someone who might still... Because the original thing on Dante was, to me, coming back end of March, start of April. And they said, a second opinion. I still am not 100% convinced on this. I wouldn't mind grabbing him and seeing if anything comes out over the next 2 to 3 days. But honestly, this could last longer. I don't know that it will, but yeah. How many minutes can you expect Sandro to get per game? It's going to depend, right, on when Bassi returns. I would say he can get 28 now easily, very easily, right now. What's Fox's ceiling with this news? I don't think really that much changes, honestly. He gets 1 to 2 extra shots. He doesn't take Wemby shots. He doesn't just take all of that. Fox's ceiling is always limited by Fox. It's limited by his inefficiencies in shooting from the field, from 3 and from free throws. And by inefficiencies, I mean inconsistently efficiencies. Because sometimes he'll be great, sometimes he'll be bad. So I don't know how much that changes. In fact, I don't think you should waste any energy worried about, does Fox go up or down? I don't think it means anything for you in that respect. It seems like a waste of time doing that. Pat Williams is out for 2 weeks. Does it help Matas or more deeper league stuff? Yeah, it does help Matas because it means there is one fewer person that Billy Donovan could bring in place of Buzelis. Now, we can still bring in Julian Phillips into that spot and annoy us that way. But yeah, it does help. Bazella said helps improve that floor value. Absolutely, it does. So I'm avoiding Vassell questions. No, Miles. Lol. All right. Are we still only streaming Kuzma, or is a hold? The problem with Kuzma, right, is, all of the stuff. But from a fantasy perspective, the problem with Kuzma is he needs big usage to offset the fact that he's not a steals guy, a blocks guy, a field goal percentage guy, or a free throw percentage guy. Or he's an assist guy. And honestly, Portis being out doesn't really impact any of that. There'll be moments with Kuzma who's on the court without Giannis and Dame, and that will help Kyle boost up. But I don't think it's that big of a deal for him. But I would hold today, and we get a chance to see it, don't we? And then we can make a decision. So yeah, hold for today, absolutely. Is the Josh Hart injury serious? Interesting. I know Tom Thibodeau from some is widely criticized. Some, me, right? Criticize him all the time. Because I think that some of the stuff he does is actually like, it's disrespectful and it's harmful. It is. He's a good coach for some things, but others he's terrible. Josh Hart has been dealing with this knee issue for weeks. He has had multiple questionable tags or probable tags every game for like 4 weeks. He would play 42 minutes, 46 minutes in 48-minute games. They're up by 20 points. And now coming out of the All-Star break, he has to rest. He's out because of the knee issue. Is it serious? It's serious enough that he's missing time after missing a week. I don't think that it's going to be something that costs him the rest of the season or anything like that, but it's obviously a concern. There is also a thing, and this is, again, where I'll use the P word, propaganda, because it does happen, right? And I think propaganda, you think of certain things, but it's not. This idea, like the amount of people go, man, I can't believe this must be really bad if Josh Hart's missing time. No way, man. Josh Hart will never miss time. Do you know Josh Hart has hit 70 games twice in his career? This idea that we find a guy and go, tough. He will never miss. Wow, must be really bad if Josh Hart is missing 70 games twice in his career. Right? You can go and nitpick and find reasons why those things happen. That's okay. But he's played 70 games twice in his career. So, but we sit there and go, this is the man that never gets hurt. He's the toughest player. You'll play 3. His leg will fall off and you'll play twice. Twice Josh Hart's hit 70 games. Twice. Yes? So we have to always be careful about prevailing narratives of what we hear. You want to know another good one of those before we head into another ad break? This idea, LeBron killed the dunk contest. You know the dunk contest got cancelled for 2 years in the 90s before LeBron was drafted? You know that? They didn't have it. It was so bad, they cancelled it. Yeah? Yeah, but you don't hear that part of it. Got cancelled. Cool. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Yes, when the game tips off, the NBA action, well, it's just getting started because with FanDuel, you can get in on it all, and it's America's #1 sportsbook. You can place live bets all throughout the game. So if you miss the opening tip or you want to bet on a fourth quarter comeback, well, you can do that. Stay in the action with those live bets on FanDuel. Plus, you can combine your live bets on FanDuel on the NBA into a same game parlay. You can bet the spreads of the teams, you can bet the over-unders, you can bet the individual player props all through the game on FanDuel, keeping you engaged right down to the final swoosh. I don't know. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your $5 bet wins. Go to FanDuel.com. Join today. That is FanDuel or FanDuel, if you can't understand my accent, for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. And don't forget to gamble responsibly. Liam, I wanted to bring this question up because... First of all, question for you, right? Liam, are you American? Because I remember like 5 years ago where I would see the name Liam, which is a very common name in Australia, a very common name in England and Europe, and Americans would see it and go, Liam? Who's Liam? But I'm seeing a lot of people, Americans now with the name Liam. Still haven't got quite on board with Lachlan yet, but yeah. Anyway, Liam, you're American. He says, would you say that Castle, again, I love this. Will Castle have more protagonism than Vassell? I love it. I love it. Protagonism, I'm going to guess you mean in this context, and I hope this is what it means. It sounds great. The person who's more leading, initiating offense. Would I say Castle would do more than that than Vassell? Yeah, I think I would. His usage is already sky high at the moment, Castle, so I do think he will have more protagonism. I just love that. I love the wording. It's fantastic. Do I see anything changing with recent news about the Lakers not having the right to rescind the trade? No, I don't. I don't know who said that they didn't have the right to rescind the trade, because they did have the right to rescind the trade because they did rescind the trade. I don't know what that means, and I think we could just forget that part, honestly. Did the Lakers specifically release why he failed it? No, they didn't. Do I think NBA teams should have to specify why a player has failed a medical? Obviously, there are medical privacy rules that I know why they failed him on it. I don't believe I'm in a position to 100% say that, but I do know why, or I've been told why they do that. Yeah. But I don't know that necessarily needs to happen. Why are we assuming that the Hornets are tanking? Watching that game, they seem to be trying to win. Rich Paul, you should know this. You work in the industry, mate. Players don't tank. Organizations do. Coaching staff to a small degree. Players try to win every time they're out there. And I know that you have, and this is again the propaganda word. People have been talked to and discussed this through the media. That makes you think that tanking is this terrible thing and no one wants to play and win and they all want to be mates and suck each other off in their Ferraris or whatever they want to do. It's not true. The players will always try to win. The coaching staff, as a general rule, will always try to win. At sometimes they will do things differently and realign their organizational priorities. But they will always, in situations like that, they will try to win. Always. What are my thoughts on Chet Holmgren rest of season, please? I believe he will keep playing for the Thunder. All right. Mamu or Niang? That's a good question, Tim. George Niang has been playing well. That is tough. I probably take Mamu, honestly, because at this point in the season, I want to hit on a guy who, if it all works, we can get a top 75 run. And you might say that's outrageous to suggest that Sandro Mamukelashvili is going to deliver us a top 50 run. I don't think it's outrageous. He has got this very weird stat set that when it's turned into the right spot, does work. Now, Niang is interesting, but honestly, he's a points and threes guy. He's not going to be a big rebounder. He's not going to be blocking shots. He's not going to be passing the way that Mamu can. And while you might say that the 70% outcome is that Niang has a better rest of season value than Mamu, I would tend to agree with that. But at this point in the season, when it does become so hyper important in terms of streaming players in, that hitting a guy that might be in your best 5 or 6 for this period is just so much more important than being able to hit the guy who's your 11th best player and having him on your roster. It's just not as useful in that spot. So you do have to usually just take the swings. Last season down the stretch, Mamu played 24 minutes a night. He averaged 11 and 9 over a 3 a game. He shot 49 and 77. He had 2 assists. And if I actually narrow that down a little bit, I might narrow that down to like the final couple of weeks of the season, because I believe that's when he started to do some damage. I'll bring that up again, because this is obviously the big topic. Victor Wembanyama, if you're not aware, out for the season for the San Antonio Spurs. Mamu, he's 12 and 10, 2 assists down the stretch. It's not bad numbers. All right, they're not bad numbers. They're not great, they're not bad. But that could all go tits up if Bassi returns, and he would be the must-add player. We are still going on here. Let's have a look. Who should win Defensive Player of the Year? That's a good question, Rodrigo, because obviously Victor Wembanyama can't do it. Dyson Daniels has been very impactful. It is hard for a perimeter player to win Defensive Player of the Year. Anthony Davis is not going to make the limit for games played either. I don't know if Giannis is there. I actually don't know. I don't know who's going to win it. All right, chat, if you can hit me up with who you think should win Defensive Player of the Year, I would love to know, because I am blanking. It's not Gobert. I know that much. Let's have a look. Let's see if I can just bring up a name somewhere. It's very, very... Get some more questions in, by the way, as I just try and see if there's any names that I can come up with. Chet won't have played enough. Oh, actually, you know who an interesting name is Ivica Zubac. That's a name to watch. Jaren Jackson could also be in that mix. Ivica Zubac is an interesting one. Evan Mobley, you will also probably get some votes, I'm guessing. Maybe Jarrett Allen too. All right. What about Bat Manuel? Welcome back to the show. Bassie's injured. He's got a torn MCL. We don't know when he's coming back. So yeah, he would be the guy if he wasn't injured. But even when he comes back, he's going to be like pretty limited, I'm guessing. When do I believe Dante will be back? I don't know. They gave us conflicting reports. I would say we're still probably a couple of weeks away, but I don't have any real information on that. I just don't know. All right. Walker Kessler, I don't think he'll win Defensive Player of the Year. Is he even going to hit 65 games? How do I view having teammates on a season-long team? Could it hurt you when you have a couple of the Mavs during the fantasy playoffs? It doesn't matter. I don't care about having teammates. Now, yeah, that is the problem. Having a 2-game week in the playoffs becomes an issue. It's why I would never suggest in a head-to-head league, like back when you were drafting, if you took Luka Doncic in round 1 and Kyrie in round 2, insane move, ridiculous move, you deserve to lose. That is a terrible move. But if you've got Kyrie and then you've got PJ Washington, who you picked last in the draft, and now they're both playing 2 games, what are you going to do about it? I think it's okay, right? If you can move off of it, no problem. But it's not ideal for that particular situation. Will the Pels prioritize minutes for Missy or Makovic the rest of the season? Both. But also, Missy's hurt. They can easily do it for both. But they would do it, if they had to choose between the two, they would do it for Missy. Whether you believe that is the right move or not, that is your call. Cam Thomas update, he's not playing. That's all we know. When he did some practice, it looks like he could be back soon. I would be very surprised if he plays out the rest of the season, to be honest. What time does the Hornets injury report drop? Well, because they played yesterday, I believe that it will come out at... Well, it's a good question. Let me double check the ruling on that, because there's different rules depending on when it's on a back-to-back. Let me double check this. For the second game of a back-to-back, the teams must report at 1 p.m. local time on the day of the game. So the Hornets play. Oh, Dwight Powell upgraded to doubtful. No, we don't add him, by the way. Let's have a look. When do the Hornets play? So they're at 1 p.m. my time, which is 9 p.m. Eastern, which is 6 p.m. Pacific, which is 7 p.m. Central. So they play at 7 p.m. Central, so it's 1 p.m. So 6 hours from now is in 4 minutes' time. And then they'll get submitted, and that means in 34 minutes' time, that report will drop. There you go. 34 minutes. That took a while to get there, didn't it? All right. So the thing, back to the Victor Wembanyama stuff, right, is that Bassie would be the clear ad, but he's not playing. He's out for a bit of time here. He might not return. And when he does return with a sprained MCL on the same knee that he tore his ACL, I don't think he's going to play enough minutes. So I still like Castle and Mamu, and then we see what else they do. Sohan as well. These are all worthy ads. They're all worthy ads. I missed you talk about AD. My thoughts on him being reevaluated in 2 weeks? Yeah, I think it's bullshit. I think that they are doing incredible, and by incredible, I don't mean great. I mean, they are doing PR work because every fan wants to rip their larynxes out. I don't think Davis is coming back, and I think they're too scared to say it, honestly. Reevaluated in 2 weeks, whatever. Doesn't mean he's coming back. The fact that I am waiting now to hear if there's any report from Mark Stein that will be like, oh, they haven't ruled out surgery. I'm still waiting for that. So I'm still working under the theory that Davis is not back until, at the very earliest, the end of March is my guess. But I don't know that. Is Davion Mitchell watch list or add or ignore? He's largely, well, basically, me, the way that I am, every player is on a watch list because I am watching every player and every stat and everything at all times. So he's always on a watch list. And if you're a starter and you're going to play 30 minutes, you should be higher elevated onto a watch list. But he's not good. He's not a high-level fantasy player. He's going to be a guy that with a Heat player back-to-back. Oh, can I get 10 assists and 3 steals out of him? Maybe. That's where he would come into play. So that's probably where we look at Davion Mitchell there. I'm going to take a couple more questions here, and then we'll head out. But I think we covered most of that about Wemby. We covered it about Bobby Portis. It's bad news to wake up to, all that stuff, man. I hate it. Jason Gottlieb says, is Paul George washed? I don't think so, Jason. I think what we can look at is look at some of his production 2-3 weeks ago. There were some pretty good games in there. Like, it hasn't been good, obviously, and I'm pretty sure that this finger issue is causing some real problems. Now, has he been terrible this season in comparison to past years? Yes, very obviously. Can he get back to that same level? The odds would suggest no, right? Probably not. Would be the way to look at that. But is he completely cooked? I don't think so. I don't think so. I would not drop Bowl for Mamu. Someone said, is Gaffer to drop? I believe so, yes. Klingon or Mamu, easily Klingon. Is Van Vliet's season done? No. Isn't he like, he could be coming back like tomorrow? No, why would he be done? What? No. No, Judd, I have not seen. Have you think you should leave? I know you're going to keep asking. I have not seen it. I don't know if I ever will. We'll see. At some point, maybe. Do I watch college basketball? No, I don't. I will catch up on college basketball stuff after the NBA regular season is over. What happened to Diabate yesterday? Was he falling out of favor with the coach, I think? Yet they just went with the two players they think are better. Williams and Nurkic, who I'm not going to argue with them because they are better players. That's exactly what happened. And we saw this early in the season, remember, is that when Williams and Richards were out, Diabate played, and then when they came back, he got 0 minutes. Because this is what he is. He is a backup center who was on a two-way contract, who is a very low upside player, who fantasy managers love because he was grabbing big rebounds. I just don't think he's his high-level upside player at all. Is PJ's Washington value reduced to the 5? No, the opposite. As a general rule, players who move from one of the interior positions, and I say that just on the 1 to 5 scale, if you play the 2, the 3, or the 4, if you move from those spots to the perimeters, to the 1 as a point guard, or to the 5 as a center, your value rises. Here's why. You move to the 1, theoretically, you handle the ball more, you get a little bit more usage, but you get more assist opportunities playing the 1. You play the 5, you generally play closer to the basket, more rebound chances, more block chances, more high percentage field goal chances. It nearly always, if you move from the 4 to the 5, it improves your value. If you move from the 5 to the 4, it decreases your value. Towns versus playing with Gobert versus Towns playing at center. Think of it that way. Moving off ball to the 2 or the 3 versus playing the 1 is worse. So if you are playing the 2, 3, or the 4, and you push out to the 1 or the 5, W. General rule. All right. I think we may head out of here. What else we got? Brandon Boschen just got signed. Should we keep an eye on him in deep leagues? Yeah, Adrian, you should. BJ was pretty good earlier in the season, but again, he is a poor field goal percentage merchant. He will have opportunities. In deeper leagues, I'm interested in grabbing him. In standard leagues, I think we just wait on it. Again, remember, if you picked Wemby, you did not make the wrong choice. If you have a mindset that everything is results-based, and yes, the result is important, but that shouldn't change your decision-making process. Because I'll tell you where another good example of this comes in, and you can roast me about it, whatever you want, is that I got the Jordan Poole projection completely wrong last season. But I actually believed in my process on it. It was completely wrong. So you know what I did this season? I went back in, I projected it out again, and Jordan Poole came out at about 55 or whatever it was. I went, do I really do it again? Do I really want my balls out this much? And I do, but that's usually what I charge people to see. But I'll put them out there. I went, here you go. Here's a freebie. I'm all out there for you. I believe in the projection. I believe in why I did that. It didn't work, but I believe in it because I believe in the process. And guess what happened? Jordan Poole's been an unbelievable pick this season. He's actually done very similar to what I thought he would do last season. But if I had have been the person who looked at, well, I thought he would do this and he was really bad, therefore it was a terrible idea and terrible process, I would never do that again, I wouldn't have had that idea. And I think in the way that I work and in my job, I have to do that. I have to be able to look at things through process and not base everything on results. Basing everything on results is ridiculous. Because there would have been people who told you, man, yeah, I love drafting Anthony Davis now. I think his injury problems are all fixed now, which is just not how injuries work. Right? Process is important. Process is important. Results are great. Process is important when you're making future decisions. And I hope that gets through. Because I know there's going to be someone here that, of course it was wrong. Of course it was wrong. You can't not take Jokic. Didn't even say that. All right? You could have taken Jokic. You could take Wemby. They were both the correct decision. They're both the correct decision. The point is that you cannot judge your process and decision-making based solely on the results. You can't. It is a bad way of doing it. And in saying that, I think we might be out of here. I think we might. All right, guys. On the way out, if you could hit the old YouTube subscribe button, that would be great. I hope that from a technical perspective, everything went off without a hitch with the new computer and the new settings, hopefully. And if you could double bang, that would be great. Let's keep the positivity up. It's really tough if you don't have Wemby, but look, I'll put it this way. There'll be some of you who go, I've got Wemby, my season's over, I'm going to give up. Your opponent, again, knock on wood, I don't want this to happen. But did you wake up today going, man, I'm probably going to lose Wemby today, yeah? And I'm done. But what happens if your opponent loses Shea? What happens if Jokic goes down? 2 years ago, people were saying, never draft Shea, don't touch him again. He's always going to get hurt, right? People said that. You don't know what's going to happen. You just keep plugging away, you keep trying, and things happen. Who knows when or how or if, but random stuff clearly happens. Clearly happens. Guys, I never talk about, Michael, here we go. I never talk about Hayes. I've never spoken about Jackson Hayes ever in my life. I've never done it, but now he's going to be the first time I talk. I assume you mean Jackson, or do you mean Killian? Michael, never spoken about him. Apologies. He's only been on the thumbnail of a few of my videos. Never spoken about Hayes ever. Jackson Hayes is a back-end player. You can hold him. You don't have to. He doesn't mean jack shit for the majority of leagues. He's a fine player to have there, but in the end, when you get to the playoffs, that is the exact sort of player that you just drop and get the next guy in, and you stream it through. He's completely inconsequential. And in saying that, we're done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. Wemby, hope you're all right, mate. Bobby Portis, I actually stand with you. Guys, we are done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya. Guys, I'm actually back quickly. LaMelo Ball and Mark Williams are ruled out today. We did get the report from the Hornets. That is as expected. So hold on to your dicks, but hold on to your Diabates as well. All right, now we're out.